How far do you reckon you can get into this review without blinking?
Jericho, wait!
I'm not blinking!
Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume. Things like Star Trek, things like the MCU, things like Red Dwarf, and things like Doctor Who, which we're talking about today because, of course, we've got a brand new episode of Series 13, Doctor Who Flux. This episode is called Not Time. What's the episode called? Village of the Angels. I went into this episode with one main want, and that was for the angels to be scary, for the episode to be scary, and I would say, right from the off, it achieves that. That opening scene was really well done. The sort of pre-credit scene where we've got sort of ominous music, the people walking in shadows, the weird thing going on with Claire and the professor and what he's doing, the experiments he's running, all very tightly framed, darkly lit. It was really quite scary. And then when the angels start showing up, and it was good. It was also another one of those episodes which is probably this, along with the Sontaran episode, I suspect, will be the most sort of episodes that you could treat as standalone. They do obviously have quite significant ties to the overarching plot, but they have their own beginning, a middle, and end as well. And boy, what an end! The cliffhanger. Woo. But yeah, it was. I think it was a good Weeping Angel episode, but also a really good part of the Flux storyline. We got some great revelations in this that I'm quite excited about finding out, and that pose yet more questions, and also kind of answer some, but still pose more questions. And I mean, the payoff is going to be everything with this series. But I'm quite excited about the stuff we found out in this episode. I don't know about you. I mean, the Division use weeping agents. They have weeping agents. They have weeping agents. Weeping angels as agents. I really like the plot that they've got going with this. The mystery behind Claire, why the weeping angels are in this village, the people going missing, the missing little girl who shows up later. All of those threads are an interesting story by themselves, and I really thought they were done well. Let's talk about some of the characters. We were left on a cliffhanger last week with the angel taking the Tardis. How they got out with that, I was fine with. I was slightly worried. I mean, it was kind of a little bit, hey, press a button, we get out of it. But not in a kind of like immediate way. You know, as resolutions to the cliffhangers in Flux go, I think this has been one of possibly the better ones, actually. How they, the Doctor had to think on her feet to try and solve the problem and defeat the angel. And then there was still that threw them into another situation where they didn't know where they were. And it turns out they're in this village. I really liked Yaz feeling like a police officer again, because she very rarely does. She has all this police training. She may not be a police officer anymore, but she was. And from the moment they exit the TARDIS, and there is already a couple there trying to use the TARDIS's police box phone, because they've landed in the 1960s when police boxes were still a thing. And they're trying to use the police box phone to contact the police. So she instantly goes into police mode and says that she's the rapid response. They're the rapid response team. And she starts asking them questions as she would if she was on a missing persons case back at home in, Halisham Police. So I really like that we're actually getting to see Yaz feel like a police officer for once, because often she's in situations and I kind of feel like you would be acting a different way because you're a police officer. I mean, the one I always go back to is Arachnids in the UK, when she's on her own turf, in her own time, so she has jurisdiction as a police officer, and yet somebody pulls a gun on her, and literally the fact that she's a police officer never even comes up in that episode. It's the strangest thing ever. But here, it's as she should have been the whole time, I think. Going into police mode in situations like this. This was another kind of light one for Dan. Not much really there. He's got a few good lines. His personality's still coming out. I still like him. He's really, I like his personality. I'm glad he's there. but he doesn't add a massive amount to this episode, which is fine. I mean, we're only going to have potentially 2 more episodes. Maybe he's in the specials as well, I don't know, but potentially only 2 more episodes with him. So I hope we do get some more next week from him. We obviously had some good stuff in the first episode, a bit last week with Diane, finding out the Diane stuff, but I'd like a little bit more. Claire was interesting because she obviously was a mystery left over from the first episode, and I think we got a pretty good resolution to it. She had, because I was slightly confused about whether or not, okay, she met the Doctor before at that point, but no, she'd had premonitions about the Doctor before. So that kind of worked out quite well, and I like the way that links in later on to how she is becoming an angel, because as someone who has premonitions, she's had the angel as an image in her mind, and the image of an angel becomes an angel. That's a bit of lore that was established in the Angel's second story and is used quite a lot in this. We have them coming through televisions, we have them coming out of pieces, a drawing of them, and obviously in her head as well, in that sense. We have a little one in the eye as well, and she has that the dust falling from her eye like Amy did when she had an angel in her eye. So yeah, it's going back to that lore and also building on it as well. We find some new stuff out about the angels here, the biggest of which is that they are worked for the Division. Yeah, this angel that is inside Claire is on the run from their fellow angels because they did a runner from working for the Division, just like the Doctor. And when there's a psychic connection between Claire and the Doctor, find out that this angel was the one in the TARDIS and brought them there so that the Doctor could help them. And obviously, this just brings up more questions about the Division. So we find out the Division used people from all races. I mean, we already knew the Lipari were used. Calvinista was a member at one point. But I think up until this point, we've thought of it as pretty much a Time Lord thing. But it seems to be more expansive than that. So, was it a Time Lord initiative that they then disbanded at some point and stopped using other races as part of, or when they got more insular? Or was it always an intergalactic kind of alliance thing that Time Lords were a part of? What is going on? What is this? I hope we get some answers soon. And given that the Doctor has been recalled to Division at the end of this episode, I think next week we might get some answers, possibly. I do apologise, you can probably hear I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, so I'm going to try and keep this short. What else was there? I really like Professor Jericho. He was great. When I first saw him doing the tests and stuff, okay, he's going to be a bit of a morally questionable character, but you know what? He wasn't, and he has some great lines where he stands up to the angels and he's very determined not to blink, and he does get sent back in time, but only after really standing his ground quite a lot and being firmly resolute. He takes a lot of initiative. He has one great line about, I can't remember what the battle was, but I was in the brigade that went first into the battle of so-and-so at probably World War One or Two. I really liked his character. Great job by the actor, and really well written, and really enjoyed this one. Going back to Dan and Yaz, they get transported by some angels back to 1901, and that whole meeting up with the little girl, I like that. I like that, and they find out that they basically get to the edge of the village and they're in space. They've been extracted from time. Quantum extraction, I think they called it. That was an interesting concept. Another thing we learnt about angel lore that they can do, apparently. And that was all quite interesting. But I really liked the little girl stuff, especially when later on they come to that barrier between the two time periods that they can't get through, but they can talk through. And the girl meets the older woman who has been in the episode the whole time and warning people, but nobody believes her. Turns out to be an older version of the girl, and the girl's got there the long way around, and she's had to wait all that time to grow up and see herself as a young girl. I liked that, like, timey-wimey stuff of it. That was good. The angels were scary throughout this episode, particularly in the bit with the tunnels, where all the hands are at the side, and the Dr. Claire and the Professor Jericho are escaping through the tunnels. That was very well shot, and I was on the edge of my seat throughout. Just generally, this whole episode, I think it was scary, I think it was tense, I think it was exciting. It, was an exciting story, and also led to this great cliffhanger where the angel that has been trying to run from the other angels has turned heel and actually made a deal with them to deliver them the Doctor, and so that they can take the Doctor back to Division, and the Doctor gets turned into an angel at the end. What a cliffhanger. I can't wait to find out what happens next week. Throughout the episode as well, we do get to check in occasionally with Belle, Vinder's other half, who has been traipsing around the galaxy. She comes across a group of people that are waiting for something to take them somewhere, and it turns out to be a Zur and a passenger, but she conveniently knows what the passengers are, that they're prisons, and so she rescues another guy from being caught up in the wave that would take everybody into passenger. And then later on, we get our first ever mid-credit scene for a Doctor Who episode. Have we ever had one of those before? I don't think so, but we've got one here. Mid-credit scene where Vinder shows up and comes across this same guy who says, "Oh yeah, I do," and he shows him a hologram of her, and the guy says, "Oh yeah, I recognise her. She left this thing, and it's a hologram of her." So Vinder now knows that she's alive, but she didn't quite get the coordinates where she was going next logged in before she could help there. But given that she's now gone off to, basically, because now she knows that the Zur is capturing people into passenger, and she doesn't like that, she's gone off, Belle, to find out what's going on there. So Vinder's obviously following her, trying to catch up with her. That's going to probably bring them back into the Doctor's purview at some point when Azure and Swarm, wherever they are, Belle's going to have got to, and then Vinder's going to be close behind. It's going to be something like that to bring them all back together near the end, I think. I've only just watched it once. Maybe if I watched it a second time, I'd notice a couple of things, but who knows? I generally really enjoyed this episode, and I can't think of anything. I can't think of any dislikes from it. This is, I think, so far is the strongest episode of the season. It's been the strongest episode from a while. This was the episode that was co-written by Maxine Alderton, who also wrote The Haunting of Villa Diodati last year, which was another creepy, menacing one. So I think a lot of that might have been her influence in the way it was written, and it paid off massively. This was a fantastic story. Really liked it. Probably the best episode for a while, certainly this season. What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, I'll be here next week, and I will probably try and get another theory video. I've been trying to get theory videos out midweek about something. I've had one about, is Dan really the fugitive Doctor? I'm now thinking no, but go and watch the video anyway. Also, I've had one about, what was that mysterious house? Are we going to find out any more about it this season, or is it going to be something that's just left there as a mystery? But there's some theories on that. I've got another video. And my most recent one was, what was it? Oh yes, who is the mysterious woman that the Doctor got pulled in to talk to last episode? So what is all that? Maybe we'll have a Weeping Angel Division one this week. We'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. Goodbye.